pianoryland@gmail.com. Listener request for some a little more in-depth explanation on like a slow ballad, a 3/4 time like a waltz, just a quiet meditative song for Mike Wadsworth. Mike, thank you again for listening and subscribing. Really appreciate all of your comments and great questions. I may not be able to get to everything in just one 10-minute video, but let's give it a shot, see how far we get. You had mentioned when you hit a chord and you're sitting there and you're waiting and the melody is doing things and you feel like you're just kind of sitting with nothing to do. And it has a purpose, it has a place. Everything is not supposed to be busy and full all the time. And some of that holding is just a nice support, and it's supposed to be soft and smooth and soothing. So what do we do with if we hit the left hand and then the right hand's just, what do we do here? You had mentioned the song Touching Jesus in 3/4. 1, 2, 3. So that was a pretty tame version. So what happens is the first part that I heard, when we move from the A flat, we're in the key of A flat, 4 flats. That's how you gave it to me right out of the song book when you sent the chords. So it occurs here when we move up. Touching Jesus, it's a D flat chord. D, F, and A. D flat, F, and A. So you hit that on Jesus, apparently, when you go 1, 2, 3, and you keep holding until it changes back on Matters. So something I really like to do so it's not overcomplicated when you touching Jesus, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It matters. So all I did is use the same chord. This is something I heard a lot of really good musicians do a long time ago. When you hit down on the 1, 2, 3, use these very same notes, the A flat, the C, and the E flat, and just going up an octave. And restrike there on the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's the form of it. So if we put it in context with D flat, touching Jesus, D flat and A flat, D flat, F and A flat. We hit down on 1, 2, same notes. D flat, F and A, just a little up higher. I like to fill the chord up a lot more. So I add 4 notes. So you can just double the A flat, which would be the 5 of the D flat chord. D flat is 1, F is 2, D flat is 1, F is 3, A flat is 5. 1, 3, 5 in the chord intervals. So then I just double the A flats when I do that little roll down. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. And again. Touching 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. That's another little classic trick. I love the sixths. So if we're sitting on A flat, 1, 2, 3, don't know what to do. So your right hand can do something or your left hand can do something. There's a little pickup beat in there. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2. So the and of 3, 1 and 2 and 3, and the and of 3 is where you do that. And 1, 2, 3, and 1. So that's an A flat, an E flat, and a C natural. So all I've done is taken a regular A flat, C, E flat chord and taken the third out and moved it up an octave to a 10th. So it spaces it out so it's not so muddy. You don't want to play in the left hand 3 notes way down here all jumbled together. You want to open it up. And so then that creates the 6th for your little move. 1, 2, 3, and all right. So it moves from E flat and C up to F and D flat, and then returns back to E flat and C. Just get that sound in your ear, because it's something you're going to use for the rest of your time as a pianist or instrumentalist. And then work on getting it faster. Nice and smooth. Alright, so then putting it in context. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 1, and 1, and 1, 2, 3, and 1. Alright, let's take it back from Touching Jesus. Touching Jesus is all. There's a right hand that matters. 3 and 1, 2. So right there is where you put it. Matters 1, 3, and 1, 2. Now that little trick right there. Classic move. All I did was just use the B flat. There's a little pivot, just drop down and move it back up to C. B flat and C while holding the A flat. Right hand, 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 6th. Now that's another way you can do this when you're working with long spaces and pauses. For instance, we had life will never be the same. Never be comes out to be a B flat chord as they have it. It's actually a B flat. 7, add 9, or add 2. So what you can do in those instances is start at the bottom when the chord hits, and then just hit those individual notes smoothly in time as you progress up. So not only is it harmonically pleasing to the ear, meaning the notes are pretty and they sound nice together, it is rhythmically predictable and pleasing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. See how predictable it is? It hits on the downbeats and the offbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Alright, so you can take that and use it A flat, E flat, A flat, C, E flat, A flat. Just practice that. 1 and 2 and go, and 1 and 2 and 3 and make them nice and smooth. All the notes are sounding the same volume. That's part of the trick of it. There's not one that sticks out. You don't want that. You want them all to be the same level of volume and fit together. Nope. See? when it sticks out, it really sticks out. Okay, so the principles that we have just covered, you asked another great question. Do these things change when you move them to a different key? The answer is the patterns and the rhythms and the way the chords move don't necessarily change in the way you might think in order to make them into something different. The patterns, the rhythms stay the same, the concepts stay the same. It's the names of the notes that change when you move from one key up to another key or another key or another key. It's the notes that we call those pitches or tones that changes. But the concepts of being smooth and rhythmically together, and even the sixths like we talked about, I'm going to change to a different key. The other keys. See? Okay. So the principles are applicable across the board. It's only the names of the notes that change. We are basically out of time. I'm just scanning back through your email in the notes. Mike, take a listen through this video, let it sink in for a little bit, and then hit me back with a timestamp or other questions that you have. And remind me if I didn't get to a question that you wanted me to answer, and I'll try to go back and catch what we missed today for just this first video. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you to everyone out there who's subscribing. And appreciate all of your comments and encouragement. pianoryland@gmail.com.